Sit, talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover state of fear.
Merry Christmas. Welcome back. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Kwanzaa. Winter
Happy
solstice.
holidays is what terrorists say. Merry Christmas.
So I said them all. Whatever it is. Welcome. It's Flyover State of Fear. It's our holiday episode.
Yes, we are back with a big holiday spectacular that will probably air in January.
No, I think we get this airing next week.
Move it up. We'll move it up in the rotation. Mm-hmm. That's up to you, Seth. Really.
Yeah, we'll move it up. But yeah, man. How you been? How you doing?
Oh, I mean, just doing my thing. This is just living the dream. This is. We did have horror fans should be aware. We did have a Friday the 13th in December this year, so that was fun. I got a couple Jason movies in, along with my Black Christmases and my Christmas Evils this year. But for the most part, my watching has been seasonal. And I have been bad about keeping up on my now watching and posting about it. The transition and the kind of like straddling between Twitter and Blue Sky has made me...
It's too late for you. Not really, but you really just need to get on Letterboxd.
I know. I'm kind of not doing it as like, now it's one of my things. It's like...
you're like me with Lord of the Rings for like the first 27 years of my life.
Like, I don't care how many people tell me that the Top Gun Maverick is good. I'm not going to watch it. I refuse. I'm not going to do it.
I get it. I've been doing the same thing though. Like horror's been such a back burner. Even some holiday horror, I haven't hit. I still gotta knock off Better Watch Out. Check that episode out with Janine Bryce. But still gotta watch that episode. Watch that movie. I've really enjoyed putting it on rotation, especially right after like a Home Alone 1 and 2 watch, just because the paint can scenes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Always gets me. You said Christmas Evil, Black Christmas.
So good. God, I love Christmas Evil so much. Check out our episode last year.
Last year's episode.
So fucking good. I love that movie. Fucking bleak as hell. I mean, like, I feel like a real creep being like, oh, I love that movie. So good. Because it's like, it's the bleakest, grimmest shit.
I remember, like, you teed it up last year. I'm like, I never seen it, watched it. And I'm like, I'm just watching Taxi Driver.
I know.
And I'm not upset about it. Like,
no. And it's not, it's somehow so good. Like the guy, anyway, this isn't the Christmas Evil episode. Go watch that one.
We are, I think we're go right into it. We're talking about a Christmas horror story.
Yeah, we want to mix it up a little bit. Do something with a little fun, something. This is a little more recent, 2015. This came out the same year as Krampus, Mike Doherty's Christmas classic that Joe is repping there.
Well, there's a whole run of that time, like I wouldn't call this one of them. Krampus,
Krampus, it was like really getting hot in that era.
Yeah,
2015. I think these are like parallel thinking. They came out so close together. I don't think but there were a couple years after this.
There was a lot of mockbuster Krampus movies where it'd be like, that's I first noticed because I've always seen this cover, right?
Mm-hmm. It's got a great cover.
It's one of those covers that and those other Krampus movies, or horror movies like this or whatever, the movies never look like the cover. They're just like, here's the cool, I'm sure it's AI direct now, but like, here's the coolest like art we could have got. And you see the movie and it's like porno light. It's like porno lighting, like the worst acting. Yeah.
This one looks like a real movie.
No, I was about to gladly say, the Christmas Horror Story is I very much enjoy it. Before we even get into it, I very much had fun with this. It moves. It's really good. It reminds me a lot of Tales from Halloween or Tales of Halloween.
Yeah.
It's actually structured the same way, except for like the stories are like not these are interwoven, and that one is like not, but they have the same like radio DJs just talking in the night.
Yeah. The kind of what should be a framing device in this, but kind of isn't. They just kind of cut to him randomly. It's not really.
No, to me, I'm like, oh, they got William Shatner to,
and they
like,
got him last minute because they
yeah,
didn't have time to tie him into anything.
to sit for.
I mean, spoiler, like they do sort of tie him into part of it, but so loosely that it could have been done at the very last minute.
It's just a nice intercut. You get Shatner. Just, he was probably there for 3 days.
Oh, if that. And I think he's really drinking. His character is drinking, but I think he is also drinking. Because, like, there's a couple times where I was like, you're slipping a little bit on that line, buddy. I mean, you're a pro, but I think you're really swigging out of that bottle.
Yeah, he might be. Good for him.
Yeah, no shade. But yeah, this was one actually that I think initially, like you said, you see the cover, it's got that kind of asylum-y vibe.
Yes.
And I kind of dismissed it. But Sarah watched it and kind of was like, no, give this one a chance. It's more fun than it looks. And it's like, and like you said, it pays off what's on the cover is in the movie, to be fair.
Rarely does that happen.
And that's so rare. It's like, so I think this one earns at least a watch on that front. And especially if you like a fun Christmas.
So,
also, we'll talk about it. It's an anthology movie, sort of, which we always love a good anthology. We talk about it in horror all the time. I love, a good anthology movie. So this has that going.
Well, I'll watch any of those Halloween anthology movies. That's my barometer of this. There's dog shit ones, like 31.
Oh yeah.
Or like
there was a Christmas version of that too. It was like what do they call it? What's the calendar, the daily
to the Yule, not Yuletide. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I literally have one. I'm doing a Star Wars one right now, and I cannot come up with the word Advent calendar. And it was like the Advent calendar, and it's like all these little horror shorts that are garbage, but like they figure they're short enough that you'll just keep watching them because they're over real quick. Like
for especially for Halloween, I'll watch, like I said, and it's so far and few between. So like this sort of thing, I'm like, oh, like that's why like Tales from Halloween. I'm like, or Tales of Halloween. I'm like, oh, this is the closest comparison because it's like, not every short works, but most do. I'm giving it props. Like they filmed it well.
A couple of the shorts that are weak still have some moments that I like and stuff like that. Like
I mean, there's not much like.
Well, yeah. Here, let me set it up just a little bit. So you've got basically kind of like 4.5 stories going on. With the half story being Bill Shatner as a radio DJ. The town is Bailey Downs, which is like obviously a George Bailey riff.
Well, that's what I actually was going to say. There's like a few trivia things in this, but not really.
Okay, go ahead.
That town is not only either a reference to that, but it's more so that it's the same fictional town as Ginger Snaps.
Oh, okay.
And the filmmakers are involved with the Ginger Snap films.
Oh, nice.
And it's also the suburb in the show Orphan Black, which the creators also like. So like,
I've never seen Orphan Black, but I love Ginger Snaps. The whole trilogy of Ginger Snaps.
I'm reading it.
We need to get a lady on, and then we'll talk about those movies. Okay. Can't talk about Ginger Snaps without a female guest.
I actually think if we polled our guests, I think we've had more ladies on this show than men, so we should have no problem getting a lady.
I'm just saying, it's like, you don't want to seem like a dumbass, talk about the movie and not even have a lady present.
Be like,
the whole thing, it's like a metaphor for periods.
I'll just be like, Isabella, blanking on her name is
be like, I know what it's like to get my period. I also felt like a dog.
She's
nobody wants to
she's
do
a
that.
babe, and you saw her boobs and Freddy vs. Jason, and
that's 100% a body double.
And and then that movie American Mary was actually pretty fun.
I remember that. Sure,
I just watched it not too long ago. Anyway,
she's she's in Hannibal too. So I mean, she's got her horror. She's got her horror bona fides as far as I'm concerned.
She's great. I watched something recently. I'm not going to try to remember right now because we'll let the show move on. But I remember going, oh shit, yeah.
She definitely makes me do the Leo meme if I see her in anything.
But So anyway, I just wanted to act. That's literally what I wanted to say. So I'll let you keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I just thought it was like a lazy George Bailey reference. That's much better. That's much more interesting. No, but so you've got basically, like I said, four stores, and three of them are kind of loosely connected. So in this town, a year before, there was like a crime at the school. These two kids were found kind of ritualistically murdered. We've got a group of kids who are watching some crime scene footage that they got a hold of. In the crime scene footage, they're seeing a cop kind of investigate. And it's kind of from all based around this where we have our stories all break off. The kids who are watching the video, three of them are going to the school to do like a kind of like their own investigative report about the
Yeah.
event. The one kid's girlfriend is going with her family. She's not going with her friends. She's going with her family to their aunt's house.
It's Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve. And then the third is the cop, the traumatized cop from the video, is out with his family getting a Christmas tree in
Yeah,
the woods.
I like that's a good breakdown. I do like how they do connect them. Like, oh, this is everyone. You immediately know
Right.
where their
They're
story
not.
starts.
This is part of what made me think, and we can talk about it now or we can talk about it later, but like this is part of what made me think the structure would dovetail back at the end, because the way they set it up, everything at the beginning
It should.
is kind of, they all split off. Even they see the cop in the video and then they pass him on the road as they're leaving. So like even he is tacitly close by in proximity to the events, but like they kind of don't ever do that. And that's weird because the way the movie's structured
Well, it's
is
intertwined.
interwoven. It's very interwoven.
Yeah.
We talked about it being an anthology, but it's not an anthology in the way that where you would basically have William Shatner as the radio host, and he would be like he would introduce the three segments,
It's Pulp
and they would be
Fiction.
their own set stories. It's not like that.
It's Pulp Fictionized, or like the
Right.
better comparison is like Trick or Treat, but like they all connect from
But
Trick or
even
Treat.
Pulp Fiction, they would all you find out they're more interwoven than you think.
Yeah, it was same with
this
even
one. This one doesn't really pay that off
with
in
even
any
Trick or
way.
Treat, right? The pinnacle of these movies that they're all chasing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as high on Trick or Treat as everybody
But
else.
that's
That's where they're at. But again, is that one interwoven like that? Like this?
You see
Is
them
it?
passing through in this.
I know they're all in the same kind of neighborhood, but is it like scene to scene interwoven, or are they more segmented?
It's segmented, but they're interwoven still with like. It's usually just the passing through, and some characters connect. So like it's where like.
But I guess what I'm thinking is more traditional,
so like the
Creep Show style anthology series.
So like the werewolves, right? They end up, the guy who kills the kids, the principal.
Yeah.
He and like then like abuses women
downtown.
By
the werewolves.
He gets got by the werewolves, and they have their arc and blah blah blah. Like it does work. It works very cleanly.
Yeah, this one again, I was kind of waiting. Like I said, having not seen this in a while, I was kind of waiting for the stories to kind of dovetail back into each other, especially since they kind of go out of their way to connect them at the beginning. The one that is sort of unconnected, that's a little bit of a standalone, is our more fantastical one where we're seeing.
It's my favorite one.
Oh, of course. Well, the movie starts with a great CGI sweeping shot of this Arctic castle, right? And it sweeps in, and then it goes to some shitty barn doors, and we cut to like the inside of a set, what is clearly a set, but it's fine. I just thought it was funny that that whole castle looks so incredible, and then the doors are just like some regular old barn doors. They wouldn't be like some iron gates or something.
It's even like Santa's workshop looks just like an old school.
Well, those end up being what I would consider some clues, because there's some times when Santa's in his workshop fighting these zombie elves, which is basically what the fourth segment is. A virus has infected the elves, and
it's fun.
They turn into little zombie monsters. But there's definitely some areas of what Santa's workshop that just look like the back of a Walmart.
Yeah, I noticed that. I had no idea what was coming. So it's good to bring up. But yeah, that one I like because it was generally like it's like the Detective Crashmore of
well, that's what I was gonna say. Did you want to? We could talk about that one first or last, because it's kind of the most separate one.
Let's talk about that one last.
Okay.
Because like that one,
it definitely has some Crashmore vibes. They need to give Santa a few more one-liners.
All that one I want to say before we don't talk about it is the guy who played Santa is a fucking elite Santa and was hamming it up the whole time. Like
Oh hell yeah, he's so good. And they
seems
gave him a hot ass Mrs. Claus, like his wife's all hotted up.
she was literally like, I was like, oh, this Mrs. Claus is literally just my type I've always enjoyed. You're like she looked like Laura, because she looked like Laura Dern a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, and who isn't Laura Dern's type? Saying my type. What am I, a fucking nuisance here?
My type.
My type.
Welcome to. I'm here with mystery. We're gonna teach you how to neg lady.
Some people don't like it, but I like. I know. But yeah. No. So the first segment with the kids, right?
This was. I'll put my. I'll go ahead and put it out there. I kind of think this is probably the weakest one.
It's the weakest one.
The kids are investigating the school where these murders happened. There's a lot of times they cut back to this one, and it's kind of just them wandering around with flashlights. It feels there's a lot of filler in this one till they finally get to what it's gonna be.
Yeah, there's two things in this one too. It has like, I think it has they're trying to do like a message with it, and has the flimsiest message of it. Like they're trying to make a point.
Okay, I was also trying to piece this together. Is it a virgin birth thing, or is that the Christmas connection here?
It's a virgin birth, but they're also like, they're talking so much about like the nuns giving an abortion and the baby shouldn't be born.
Okay, yeah.
And then she makes a point about like, well, now I guess she's possessed, as I took it. She's like, I'm bringing the baby to life now, and that's why she was able to like trying to sleep with two of the boys.
Yeah, well, I get the idea. So the kids are investigating.
The kids are making too big of a deal about her being a virgin.
Right. They make a point of that, and then at some point it's very clear that the girl is like possessed and like trying to seduce. She tries to seduce the first boy.
She just kills him.
He shuts her down. He's the one whose girlfriend's off with her family. He shuts her down, which I was like, I actually kind of like that. I was like, wow, they should have got a guy be faithful to his girlfriend in a movie. I don't think I've seen that. I can't think of the last time I've actually seen that. I just was so sure he was just going to start making out with her.
Yeah, be like, oh wow, you want to lose it? Okay.
Yeah, like I'll be happy. But and then when she does, the nerdier kid, obviously she gets with him next, and she and they have sex, and then she's immediately like, "What did you do to me?" Like the spirit leaves her, whatever, like made her have and then it's a little unclear to me, and I'll ask you because she either understands because she was possessed and now she knows what's going on, or she always kind of knew and guided them out there for this reason. And that part I couldn't quite piece together.
I think she leaves. I think she knows what's going on now and was like a conduit of a guy, but not like so much consciously. Just like, we should go in here and this. Like like once they got in there, the spirit was kind of overtaking her, and then obviously she gets fully possessed. I did really like when they discover the first, because she kind of goes off with the first kid. You see him turn her down, and then you don't see what happens, and she comes back alone. There's like a scissor through his eye.
He's got a crucifix.
A crucifix
sticking out of his head. It's like sticking out. That was fun. I like that. That was rad.
This one, that worked real well. This one, and there's no judgment because we know like budgets and other things. This one had the most like haunted house at like your like high school makeup.
Yeah. Although they do one really effective jump scare where they skip over an obvious mirror scare that you think is going to happen, and then hit up one where like things on the camera and a face comes like up over the girl's shoulder. Yeah. That was very effective, but the makeup is not great.
Each one of these stories they are, and I have the wiki as I normally do to my left. They are broken down by their segments because it's an anthology. Like each one has its moments big.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but yeah, she just escapes. Like I really said, like you said, like this is almost the filler story. Like you jump back to it, it's a lot of kids lurking around.
Yeah, it's a little. This one, like I said, isn't great. In the end, the ghost ends up killing the kid who impregnates her. She has it's a ghost pregnancy, so she already knows she's pregnant. But it spares her because that was the whole thing. The spirits wanted a baby. They wanted a pregnancy.
Yeah,
and, like,
so
the ghost had like died during an abortion or something,
she's off to do she's, I don't know, off to have the baby and do the bidding of the.
But because she, like listened and did what they wanted, she gets spared.
Yeah, but she's clearly pregnant with the kid who had sex with her baby.
The nerd kid, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But again, then it's just like they spare her, and that's kind of it.
That's
There's
it.
not like
That's
a
the story.
follow up. There's no real like I said, maybe I'm just too much Tales from the Crypt in my life. But I'm always like I was waiting for that little button. Like, where's the last little note on that?
So did you did you watch the credits at all? Or is there any like little post?
The only thing in the credits is William Shatner. A couple what seemed like some riffing.
I watched this on Philo, so I had like some commercials broken in, and like
it was on Shudder. We should have watched it on Shudder.
It was on fucking Shudder. No, it didn't come up when I googled it.
It was on Shudder, baby.
God damn it! God damn! It was one of the worst commercial like chopped up things I've
Philo,
ever.
They're one of those ones that does not like try to put their like at least Tubi will put it in at like natural where they're
Sometimes.
like it will not like usually drop it in the middle of a scene, like.
So okay, no, I'm so mad because I did not know it was on Shudder, motherfucker. All right, it's fine, we're done with it. Because I will say this: if I were to come across this at a thrift, like you saw a random Blu-ray, or it was at like the dollar store,
sure,
because that's what I would pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are the type of things I like to have.
This is the perfect movie to find at a Big Lots.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say dollar store.
Like $3 Blu-ray at a Big Lots.
That's what I mean when I say dollar store.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the second story is the cop.
Okay,
I'm gonna call that the second story.
Okay, and I think this one might be my favorite one.
I like that you said that because on Letterboxd, this was one more people were down on. I love a changeling story. I like when they even said the word changeling. I was like, ooh, that is.
Yeah, they're doing a legit like baby swap changeling story, which kind of got into pop culture around this time too, because like they do a little. I don't know. You didn't have a child, so you weren't watching it probably. But Guillermo del Toro did a kids show, like an action show called Troll Hunters on Netflix. They had like a couple seasons.
No, I'm familiar with
changelings in that, and also the Hellboy movie with David Harbour had changeling. So like, I like that kind of as far as like fantasy stuff that I didn't see a lot of when I was a kid. Getting me back in, kind of old school stuff, getting back into it,
It's such creepy. This one does it like once again, everything's kind of okay in it, but it's such creepy folklore to me.
Yeah.
Of a changeling, like you go to place X, you return, but it's not you when you're there, right? Like now, most famously, like Jordan Peele's Us is just a changeling story, right?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Like your child is not your child in this case,
love those stories. I mean, there's even like I said, even the folklore and like there's even like historical changelings with like presidents. I remember hearing on like that show Lore, the podcast that used to be really popular. Like they have a good changeling episode that you go, ooh, historical changelings. Nice. So I've always been intrigued by that. So I was like my hard nerdness kind of went,
sure, absolutely.
When I realized what was going on. This is a good one too because it's our device of the episode of the short is so unique of like, okay, this cop's going off with his family and there's clearly been problems since he's had this.
He's obviously got PTSD since whatever happened to him at the school.
Because
he got jump scared by a corpse.
Well, you also mentioned that in that too is he started like speaking not in tongues but just like random like passage.
Well,
like,
there's a passage on the wall. Yeah, there's like a
but he got like possessed kind of a bit during the whole thing. Oh,
but he's out. They're out with they're going to do the Clark Griswold, and they're going to steal a tree. They're going to cut down their own tree, and they get it. But on the way back, they lose track of their son, and then they find him in the hollow of a tree. They bring him home, and he's acted a little weird.
Yeah, his wife. I don't know. She's the star of this episode.
Oh, she's
so
awesome.
good. They like That's one of
I tried. She was the most like of all the people in this movie. She was the most familiar, and I looked her up, and she's been in a couple little things that I've seen, so it's probably just
This is
that.
very Canadian.
Yeah, yeah.
With Canadian, if I had the time, if I went through, I wonder how many of these people, these older actors were on Are You Afraid of the Dark or Goosebumps back in the 90s.
Hell yeah, the
Uh,
Canucksploitation pipeline, baby.
yeah. I just thought she was like truly. I was like, oh, she's a great actress.
Yeah, she gives like a hell of a performance for a movie that like you might not
No,
expect her to bother.
this is a thankless movie. I'm not going to sit here and pretend. No, I like so they go in the woods, they Clark Griswold it. He's like, this is perfect. We go cut this tree down, no one's around here.
And as they're leaving, we do see a guy watching them, an old creep
The girl.
who looks like Steve Bannon.
Thank you. Oh my god, that was my note. That was my only note. Get Steve Bannon in the woods.
Yeah, at the end when he comes back, I was like, oh, Steve Bannon's got all his little. These are all the little guys with their tiki torches. This is all his little crew.
Yeah.
His
This
boys.
is when he got out of prison and he's like, hey man, I just want to make a Christmas Horror Story 2. The Girl's Revenge.
Yeah, kids acting a little creepy around the house. We see that maybe the dad has, and I like again they're doing the like they're trying to, much like you were talking about with the kind of the underlying little abortion thing. They're doing a bit of a little child abuse thing, and about maybe a little something about how you might change your child. They might not be the same if you do things like this to them. And although when the kid stabs him in the back of the hand, and he goes for the backhand, and she stops him, like, oh no, that kid's getting hit.
Yeah,
If I took a fork to the back of the hand, you're getting hit. That's not child abuse. That's like you just don't. You got to train kids to not act like that.
Yeah, she goes, I'll take care of it. That was the wildest part. This actually features it's not scary for scary reasons. The like mostly the other part. So when I tried watching this twice, basically I tried watching it today during work. I was just too busy, but I had my headphones on, and then I came home and I watched it and gave it its full attention. But when the kids fucking chowing down on the spaghetti, they sound mixed it to have that like mukbang, like
slurping
noise. I'm not gonna even do it in the mic, but like, oh, it was so like I actually was like, oh, just. And then he stabs him in the thing, but it's the grossest thing I've had.
As a parent, I can tell you that like you're gonna be like, chew with your mouth closed. Stop. Like stop smacking your lips. Stop gulping. Gulp, 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 gulp. When you drink shit, knock it off. You got to be a human being in the world. Stop being disgusting. Yeah, Joe never learned. His dad didn't do his job.
No. But yeah, I that was the only what the fuck.
Like he goes off and he hits him later and beats him with a belt and shit. And I was like, that's not appropriate. But when you got stabbed, that was the appropriate time to smack.
The stab should have been at minimum just
yeah. He should have had a backhand. I mean, just on instinct. If somebody stabs you, you hit them.
Yeah. But the mom is so patient.
She's so patient. She has a nice long hot shower.
Yeah. And the kid just walks in and is like, "Sup?"
Creeping. Yeah, kid's creeping on her. Feeling her up in bed, which I can't blame him, but I'm not her son.
That was a lot.
Well, at first you think, am I watching a Paranormal Activity thing? Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like coming up the blanket and you're like, because we haven't really revealed what's going on with the kid at this point.
No. She gets,
but then you see his little hand like kind of feeling her up a little bit and you're like, oh, gross. But then we actually see when she goes in to check on him, the little reflection, the first like kind of, you see the weird changeling kind of like no face and the glowing eyes.
The design was cool. I mean,
I don't mind the design at all. And I'll tell you what, it really is effective a couple of times later, right before the dad gets killed, where he's in the back, like the little kid's in the background. You just see the little beady glowing eyes, like he's all in silhouette. And then they have the moment when he's kind of like train spotting across the ceiling. They get a little Exorcist 3 thing going.
That's creepy.
It's very, they do. It's effective. It's effective.
The kid, like, and I mean, you don't see it at first, but they show you like the dad's like fucked up, is like hands off, and this, and then like she's like, oh, drove to my son, and then Big Earl, a guy from he's like, I got your license plate, so I was able to find your number. your kid, it's not your kid, it's a changeling. Like, you got to bring him back.
I think he calls before the father dies, right? And then
The father's like,
she
you get
kind
out
of
of the.
doesn't believe him.
She's like, you get out of the house, and we're not privy that he's been murdered yet. Like,
yeah,
like it happens within that time.
yeah. And then he calls back like, ready to believe me now? It's like, wow,
Yeah,
did you know what happened?
yeah,
He
and
that guy read the script.
and that's even one of those like things where you said like there's like this like all these things have these like little flimsiest ends where it's like the tie in there they just bring him back, and it's more like a gag at that point where he's like, oh, why'd you wander off?
Yeah, like
Like,
so she does finally, like, he's like, you got to bring the changeling back here, and that's how you get your son back. And we do get to see her wail on her son with a baseball bat a couple times, which I found a little funny. Like,
mhm.
I know it's supposed to be intense, but like, he
Yeah.
is just a little kid, and seeing a little kid just get wailed on with a baseball bat by their mom is kind of
his
fucked up.
his
It's
skin
funny.
just like skin comes off, and you reveal who the creature is, and but
She
yeah,
bags him up. She bags him up and drags him out to the woods.
yeah.
And then Steve Bannon comes out, and you see there's a bunch of changelings, and he's kind of like, they won't hurt me. They're scared of me. He's like, and then
They're his pals.
he's like, he kind of seems like they're his kids. It's like, again, they're doing the abusive father thing with him, and he's the abusive father to the changelings now.
Hmm. Yeah,
And you realize that that's why the changeling was running away. It wasn't malicious. It wanted to get out of that situation, kind of.
hmm and
And
its nature is to mimic the things it sees.
yeah, and
So
she ends up. He tells her that he doesn't know where his son is, and she ends up shooting him. And all the changelings seem pretty happy about that, and they bring her son back, and they
hmm
like give her back her son. And a detail that I liked was that they remembered to put the kid in like his underwear because the changeling had stolen his clothes.
yeah,
And like
it's
that's
a
a
good
detail
touch.
that I think they would have left out of most movies, but I
Yeah,
was like, oh yeah, he doesn't. You know.
you just be like, oh, the
Also, it made the
changeling.
poor kid who was stuck in the woods seem more scared and vulnerable too.
Yeah, and then once again, that kind of has its more natural ending. Like, you at least get like she has her kid. It's there. That was other than put Santa aside. That was my favorite
Yeah,
story too.
because Santa is almost not a real vignette. It's like a pseudo idea. You know what I mean? It's like they only had the one kind of thing they
Well,
were
the
doing with that, I
Santa
think.
thing would work so much better. Meaning, if this was just four segmented like stories
Yeah,
traditionally, where like here's one tale from a filmmaker, here's another tale from a film VHS, right?
yeah,
Like
VHS, sure.
this because it's like it goes from realistic, like it's all supernatural, but then this is like whimsically supernatural.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, so really like the story. I don't have like I said, our third story. This is one too. Like, this one's too uneven for my like. Like the Krampus design is sweet.
yeah. Oh, I love this Krampus design. This Krampus design is rad.
But like
I love that he's
so
white. That's so fun.
yeah, it's like I said, it's the rare time you get to look at the box of like an asylum movie and go, oh, this is the movie that you're putting out
Yeah.
there.
It's
Even though,
actually, yeah. The front of the movie proposes Santa fights Krampus, and in this movie, Santa fights Krampus.
yeah, and it like kind of looks
Yeah.
like what the cover is.
Yeah.
So
So
this
yeah,
is
you
the
have the
girl
family
who.
going out. Kind of, like upper crusty, and like I feel like you kind of know what's going on right away. They reveal it later in a confession scene, but like I feel like you kind of immediately get the idea that the dad's going to ask this old relative for money or something.
Yeah.
There's definitely an ulterior motive of some kind.
We haven't seen her, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's what's funny too. All these Christmas movies, like whatever, share the same shit of DNA because it's the same family, same but like somewhat same structure as like Violent Night, with like families actually kind of poor but asking rich people for money, blah
Right,
blah
right.
blah.
Well, they're putting on airs to it's like Dan Aykroyd in The Great Outdoors, where they're like they're the money's almost gone, but they're like acting like everything's fine, and they're gonna get, they're getting one loan to the next to kind of keep up appearances and stuff. Very similar thing. I just watched the Kristen Stewart lesbian holiday
Oh
movie.
yeah, I've
Happy
never seen
Season.
that one.
It's quite
That good.
It's
I've heard
cute.
good things.
But it has some of that in it too, of like, I was doing this as the last ditch effort kind of thing. Like there's an element of that with like the girl's family. So yeah, there's definitely or maybe like if you've seen a Knives Out, this might feel like a
Yeah,
Knives
same
Out
shit.
kind
Yeah,
of vibe
it's
to
rich.
you.
The rich is faking it, and so yeah, there's the daughter who's one of the boyfriend who didn't hook up with.
Right, the guy who gets the crucifix in his head, his
Yeah,
girlfriend, and this is her family.
yeah, and they're
The
driving
guy
out.
who was a good boyfriend and died for it.
Yeah, not everyone deserves their death in this one, but I respect a movie like this that's killing kids in these
Yeah,
settings.
good for them.
Um,
Well, the kid in this is shitty as fuck and deserves
oh,
to
dude,
die.
fuck this kid.
Yeah, I mean, he's just such a little garbage kid. Again, this reminds me of Knives Out, where they had like the little kind of like alt right
Oh,
troll kid. Like he's got
fuck,
that vibe.
fuck this kid. So these kids go there, right, and they go to this mansion, and like it's a little weird. You know, it's gonna be weird, but she has like a Santa figurine and a Krampus figurine, and
The
the
groundskeeper guy's weird about like, don't touch the figurine.
groundskeepers. No, but so is I'm just gonna call an old crone. The woman who the aunt.
The and yeah, she's a crone, sure.
Yeah, the crone, she's like, don't touch that, whatever. And they go to talk. And the kid also knows, like, he's the one who knows about Krampus, too. He's like, oh, this is this demon who kidnaps kids and is anti Christmas. Like,
Yeah.
so he gives us the Krampus exposition dump, which is kind of funny.
Right.
But yeah, so they're talking, and he just goes, sorry, Homer and a moo moo. He just goes, oh, yeah, and drops it on the floor.
Yeah, off the side of the table, breaks the Krampus
Yeah.
toy, breaks the Krampus
And the
statuette.
and the groundskeeper is just he, as we think, kind of like helps him out in the sense he's like, no, it was an accident. And the crone's like, you guys got to get out of here. You're fucked.
Yeah, she just like rushes him out of there.
Yeah.
And what you end up finding out is that because you think it has something to do with the statuette,
Yeah,
but it doesn't. That's just like
that reveal a lot.
But like the aunt can see in the groundskeeper that like he's so filled with like hate for the family that he's gonna become a Krampus. She just knows. She's like, just like people can get filled with the spirit of Christmas, you can get filled with the spirit of like anti-Christmas and become a Krampus.
It's a fun it's a fun concept for Krampus.
Yeah.
So
whereas,
yeah,
again, Krampus is more like a spirit of the season rather than an actual physical being. He becomes a physical being, but it's not, Krampus is just a guy. It's like anybody could turn into a Krampus, like a werewolf.
Yeah, when we see kind of happen, and that's what you said. Like, this is one of those stories where like it's flimsy on that concept, because what we're about to say is like, when the family's car drives out and it breaks down, and they start
essentially what we're seeing is just, it is a werewolf story.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of people stranded. They're getting picked off one by one.
They start getting picked off.
One guy gets wounded and he's bleeding out, and they're all having like confessions.
There's a confession.
Like,
he gets dragged. And Krampus in this movie has these big fucking.
I do like
hooks.
When they were like, the kid gets dragged off first. He's the first one to get killed by Krampus because he's obviously the shittiest. And the mom tries to be all like, "Oh, he didn't deserve it. He was innocent." And the daughter's like, no. What do you think happened to all our house pets?" Like,
yeah, that was crazy.
Kid's a psycho.
Just alluding like, yeah, no, he's a serial killer.
But the mom was all, "Oh, he's just a boy." She'd be the one defending him in court when he got brought up on rape charges and shit.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they do that. Then we get this reveal. The girl fights back, the youngest.
Well, yeah, eventually you cycle through, and basically Krampus kills her family.
She's the final girl.
She kills the Krampus. She stabs him in the neck and sets him on fire.
Though, what I will say, it had been a bit for the movie to do it this way. When she's like on her, like, after she stabs Krampus, but is like down, she has the like bit in like every spoof movie where she crawls through and like every weapon is available to her and they just skip over to go to something else. Like, she crawls through and there's like a chainsaw there and like something else in the background. And, she picks up the gasoline and pours it on him, and
Well, she ends up using the lighter that because again, part of the reason, like when they're establishing how the family's shitty, she's like a klepto. She stole the lighter from the grandma's house.
It's a good setup. She's klepto, and she says Merry.
But that's the lighter she uses, and she sets him on fire with
Merry Christmas, fucker, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that. I think.
And you see, like the Krampus burns down, and he turns back into the groundskeeper.
Yeah, we realized it was Gerhardt, the groundskeeper.
Yeah.
And then, like, she had gotten to the aunt's house, but, like, nobody let her in. And now that the Krampus is dead, she gets into the house. And this is when the aunt kind of, like, reveals that she knew. And the girlfriend's like, wait a minute, what? So you kicked us out because you knew the Krampus, and you were basically going to let it take us to save yourself. And she's all like, and then the hate and the anger from that and realizing that turns the girl into a Krampus, and she
murders her aunt.
And she kills her aunt, which is
I would say this has the most definitive ending.
Yeah, I guess so, because like the Changeling one just ends with her taking her kid home. I mean, there's not really like a button on it. This one feels more like like her turning into the Krampus and killing and like kind of fulfilling that feels more like a Tales from the Crypt.
Yes,
you know?
I thought that was a really fun reveal.
Yeah,
the Krampus werewolf instead of like how we're perceived of like Santa versus Krampus.
Right.
And I'll use this as a good transition to get to the Santa. Like we've been saving it. So yeah, I like the vibes of this Santa is great. Like it's generally like doesn't even start off like that.
He's real like he's got that kind of Kurt Russell from the Christmas Chronicles, like leather and long coat.
Yeah, but he has an edge, but he's still jolly about like
yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, right, this is a different act. Like there's two different actors. When the reveal happens, it's two different actors.
I don't think I think it's the same guy.
Just clean shave. Okay.
Right, because we see the one guy, he's the same guy who tells, Shatner that he hates Christmas. He puts thing.
But we
he's
never
supposed
see
to be the weatherman.
Yeah, the weatherman. And
yeah.
At first, like I thought, like he just showed him his dick or something. Like he's like teasing him because the one thing they tied to William Shatner that keep teasing him is like, the weatherman's going to be down there at the food drive. Like, show it out. We'll get away.
And then like as they keep cutting back to Shatner, he's introducing the songs. He is also like, well, it seems like some kind of going on down at the mall at the food drive. Maybe stay away from there. And then later it's like the tragedy down there. Everyone, we're still getting reports about what's been going on down there. So he's like kind of like slowly setting something up, but you're not really sure.
I'm out because like those Shatner bits, like I mean, his first watch for me, like. I'm not listening to them. I'm not expecting anything from them, right?
Well, they do because they're very subtle. Because they start out just him. He does a little bit. Oh, it's Christmas. Here's a song, and then like he plays the song, and then the song's on the radio in the scene, and that's how we get into the scene. So it just feels very. He's very transitionary, and he doesn't. And like I said, it definitely feels like it could have been added last minute. It's only. Because even the way he reports on what's going on is stuff that if they already knew what they filmed, they could just add that on. Like, that doesn't have to have been written as part of it.
So, one thing I did with this bit, we're barely into it with this one. I like that Mrs. Claus has a first name. Miss Claus never has a first name. He's like Martha.
Martha. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he calls her Martha.
Actually.
I like, this starts out as a fun, just like zombie bit.
Yeah.
You know, you got
what's wrong with you?
One of his elves is like starting to get sick,
and elves,
then he starts getting mean. And
I like all the elves have their silly elf names, like Shiny. You're not eating. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, they're all shiny and sparkles, but he's like decapitating them with his big staff and stuff. They have a couple of really fun elf kills in here.
He's like pained every time. He's like, I know you didn't mean it, Sparkles.
The one, this is only the second movie that makes use of what, as a child, I considered to be the greatest potential weapon in my life, which is the big blade on the paper cutter. You know, they're in like the wrapping room or whatever, and he like shoves the elf through and cuts his head off with the paper cutter. The only other movie this does it is Josh Hartnett, The Faculty.
Well, you also must have loved Megan then, because she rips it off and uses.
Oh, that's right. She does use it in Megan. Damn, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
I did like that.
Yeah. Um, no, but yeah, it's just a fun segment because this is the one where you're like, oh, this is what you sold the movie on.
Yeah, yeah. This is the badass Santa, the fighting Santa. And he's fighting monster elves, but we know because the very beginning of the movie starts with like him in the stable already beat up
Just
and
12
something
hours.
bursting through the doors, and we don't see it. It's just like a big white light, and then it cuts to kind of like it's like 12 hours earlier, and then we get the whole movie we've been watching.
Yeah, and
So
he's
we're not
running.
sure exactly but he fights his way through the zombies. And like I said, it's mostly just um uh, to push like some cool gore effects and stuff. There's nothing too much to it, It's just basic zombie
Yeah,
fare.
it's fun bits. It's this.
But then we get to the stable. We're back
Yeah.
around to what we saw at the beginning of the movie,
Well,
like I was talking
he
about.
murders his wife. He murders Mrs. Claus
Well,
because
yeah,
she
he finds
turns
Mrs.
into a
Claus.
zombie.
She's also infected, so he has to end up killing her.
Yeah, and but yeah, no, we get to the stable, and who arrives? Krampus.
Motherfucking Krampus, looking buff as hell, looking like a
And
big
this is,
professional wrestler.
and I'll tell you what, this is where I like because you said things tie together. I'm like, oh, that's a weird place for that girl, like that Cramp, like the girl Cramp, the girl who transitioned to Krampus comes,
Well,
comes
so I
into
was gonna
play.
say, I don't know. Now, knowing what we know about the Krampus in this universe, that could be any Krampus, really,
No, that's
anyone,
any,
really.
that's
It
any,
might not be
that's
her. I don't know if it's necessarily
I
her.
don't think that's her at all because we're about to reveal, and obviously
Well, I guess
people
yeah, that it's definitely not her. But I don't even think in the
is.
canon of the movie, it's well, you're supposed to
I
think
think in the
that.
canon of the movie, all the other stories and all their supernatural elements are real and have happened.
Okay. Um,
There's
like I
nothing.
said, if there was a way to tie them all, that if there was some way they all dovetail together, I might not think that. But I agree, the way they are presented in the movie so far, all the supernatural elements that we have
There's no
seen
reason to
are real,
disbelieve
like
that.
they
Yeah,
exist. So
like
we get our battle between. Also, I like that Krampus wields a chain with a hook. I like that we saw him. He use it kind of like a Cenobite earlier, like he was off screen and the chain would just snap somebody up, pull the dad out, like wrap the dad up and whipped him out the window and shit. I thought that was fun. But big chain with a hook. He's fighting. Santa's got his cool big staff. They're fighting. Battle, battle, battle.
it's a good
He
like it's
knocks.
a good battle.
Yeah, it's genuinely a fun fight. I like when he cuts off the horn and it shatters. It's like it's made of glass. That was cool. Like that's a cool
It's
bit.
ice. It's like
That's fun.
ice.
Like it's made of ice. Yeah. Um,
But then he
and
goes,
then like just as he's about to like land the killing blow on Krampus, Krampus is down. He's about to land the killing blow. Krampus looks at him and in a totally like normal voice is like, "Norman, don't!
I
Please don't kill me,
it
Norman."
actually took me for a surprise.
I was gonna ask you if you had any idea that they were gonna pull anything like
No,
this.
I
'Cause I
know
don't think I did when I first saw it. Because everything's been presented kind of straightforwardly, all the supernatural stuff.
everything's
You kind of are totally bought in at this point. So when they
everything's
pull this out, you're like, "Oh shit!" I think this twist works really well. It's real fun.
everything's presented straightforward. And anthologies usually are like that. It's like, okay, this is a story about Santa fighting zombie elves, and
Right?
then like the credits are gonna roll, and like William Shatner's going, "Haha, wasn't that a fun Christmas Eve, fellas?" Like,
Yeah.
like that's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised by seeing that, and like, yeah, he's. I mean, he's disheveled. It's the weatherman. He's shaven out.
Right, we're kind of like all of a sudden we're clearly in like a mall.
Yeah,
The
he has a
guy
fake
who
beard.
was Krampus is just like a store employee with some felt reindeer antlers on, all like cowering in the
And
corner.
they give us a good flashback of everything we've seen. It's just been like mall workers like hiding and trying to like stop
Yeah,
him and
his
die.
wife Martha was just like some poor cashier girl
Yeah,
who gets axed. Obviously, all the elves who worked he's like
just like
was supposed to be the mall Santa, and all the elves are dead. They're all chopped
yeah,
up,
there's
axed
like a
up.
girl working at like Jamba Juice or
Yeah,
whatever.
and like we see that the big barn doors cracking open, and the light is actually the cops showing
Yeah,
up, and all the flashlights on him and
and he
everything.
keep pulling up his axe to go for it, and they just keep popping him in, and like
Yeah,
they did some good. I think they were there's some good squib work
it
actually.
looked like real squibs to me. Yeah, I'd have to go back and
Yeah.
look for sure, but I think there's some good squibs
No,
there.
it's a dope reveal.
Yeah,
Um,
and it ties in, like I said, to the thing. They flashback, they show it. It's the weatherman who, like, puts the sign up to Shatner and tells him to fuck off or whatever. Tells him I
yeah,
hate Christmas, and then again, like, I don't think I picked it up the first time either, but this time when I was paying a little more attention, you do hear Shatner kind of slowly, like, talking about this event that's going on, which is clearly this fucking bloodbath happening at the mall. He's been like, reports have been trickling in or whatever, and because he at one point he's like, well, I hope Norman's okay. He's stalwart, He clearly doesn't know exactly what's going on, but
yeah.
something's going on, and I just think that's a fun. Again, whether it was added at the beginning, I fully think that they wrote it after they booked Shatner. They were like, we got a
No,
shot to get somebody in this. We'll add a little bit, we'll snap a little
they were
together.
always gonna have like this connection of this guy coming down to the mall, but like you said, they're probably like, hey, we got four options. We could move forward William Shatner, uh, John Travolta, or Bruce Willis. It's 2015, so it's still
Sure, sure.
appropriate. And they said, Shatner's like $200,000 cheaper. We should probably, yeah, we
Yeah.
get Shatner. He'll do
And
it.
like I said, no shade. Shatner's great. He brings it
Oh,
in. He's funny, he's charming. Like, I would listen to his radio show.
he's good. He's real fun in this. But yeah, that's tied back in whatever way. And yeah, it's fun ending. It just gets lit up
Yeah,
and
like I said, I don't think I saw it coming, and I think specifically because all the supernatural elements have been presented kind of like, so you're off your game. You're not expecting anything like that. Um
because I
yeah,
know
it's
I've
fun.
I know I've watched, like, I'll use VHS series example. I've not seen
Sure.
all of them. I've seen a handful. You
Very
watch.
solid. Probably our best ongoing
Oh,
horror
for sure.
anthology right now that we have.
They, at least those first few, it's very like the endings where they actually like do their thing of the people introducing each one. Not introducing, but like
Yeah, the wraparound segment. Yeah,
it it has no fucking meaning. It's like it's flat. Who gives a fuck, in my opinion. But when you hit the last segment, sometimes in anthologies, like especially more so horror, you're going, all right, yeah, it's gonna end in the credits roll, and if it's weak, it's weak. So this one to have like our final payoff of what's going on with Santa, and then to actually have a twist that you're not expecting.
yeah, yeah. It like pays off that thing you've been waiting for from the beginning of the movie, and then it does another. It has one more note to play
Yeah.
and gives you like one more little button, which is fun.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy you picked this movie. Like it's a nice little holiday treat of
And I think it would. I think, and no shade to anyone who did this, easy to dismiss. There's a lot of schlock that comes out around the Christmas, and like, you look at this, and I've definitely seen some much worse Christmas themed horror fare. So like, you wouldn't be wrong to be skeptical
yeah.
about watching this, but I think it's a pretty fun little gem. Definitely worth the 90 minutes.
Oh, for sure. I'm 100% down. Real quick. No, it's not 90 minutes. That was the one thing though. It's a
Oh,
2 hour. It's a
is it a
two
full
hour
2 hours? You're right. You're
because
probably
because
5 segments. I should have known.
because I came home. I got home at like 5:40, 5:30, and I was like, Laura, I gotta go right to the basement and watch this movie. And it's gonna lead almost right up till like recording. 'Cause sometimes when I have to do that, it's
Yeah.
you get some time. You're like,
Hey
oh, get
man,
an
the
hour.
podcasting life is hard, bro. I get it.
Um, so
Solidarity.
so Krampus. I just want to read a few of the straight to movie video ones.
Okay.
There's Krampus: The Reckoning. That's 2015. These are mostly all 2015.
Yeah, a lot of these came
But
out around this time.
but it has that same like cover, that same like man with horns. There's Krampus Unleashed, which is 2016. Same shit, looks the same. He's holding a snow globe. 2013 Krampus the Christmas Devil. All of the posters look the fucking same though. And then 2017 Mother Krampus. Based
Mother.
on the myth of Frau Percher, a witch that comes on the 12 days of Christmas, taking children each night. Yeah, and all these sound fucking. They always sound rad, but
Yeah.
like, look it up. They have the same bad like look and makeup. Yeah, so or enjoy them. I know people that do enjoy just like whatever
There
the
is a decent one. I think it's. I can't remember. It's foreign. It's called Saint Nick, or it might be called Sinterklaas. It might be the original name.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And it wasn't terrible. It's more like Nut Krampus, more like an evil Santa.
Hmm.
It wasn't terrible. It was all right. I think I was
Yeah.
looking for it this way, and it might be hard to stream. You might have to rent it now. It might not be streaming.
I mean,
free.
like, we're not, talking this Krampus, but does Michael Dougherty just pivot and do like an Easter movie next?
What's he? Yeah, what's he been up to?
I think he's
What's
one of
his?
those guys that has a hard time getting a job.
Well, he did King of the Monsters, right? And
That's
then has he
that's a
done
long,
anything since that?
it's a long time ago, man.
That's like 2017, 2018. That's
Yeah,
a very long time
2019.
ago.
Um, he wrote Godzilla vs Kong or Story by
Yeah.
2021. Let's see that he's a writer, director.
He
Yeah,
hasn't like directed a big thing since
no, and he's
then.
never really did, right? So like he does Trick or Treat. That's his big
Yeah.
thing. Other shorts before that.
Yeah.
Krampus, and there's almost a decade in between. Not, like 8 years in between. And then gets his shot to do King of Monsters, which is rad.
Which is a fucking masterpiece, and like it bums me out that it's kind of widely considered the worst one in that franchise because it's incredible, especially. And I know he was and did this on purpose. If you're like a fan of the old school Godzilla, it's structured just like a classic Godzilla movie. It's really great. I mean, I like the way the franchise has gone. I don't mind that it's gotten a little
I was
dumber and a
not a
little more
fan of the
actiony.
last one.
The last one was the weakest one for
Yeah.
sure. Um,
But
but
so
I think King of
then,
the Monsters is like a
yeah,
legitimately great Godzilla movie.
and then
Like,
it says in development, Trick or Treat 2. Trick or Treat 2 he's been asked about every year, and he's always like, I'm close to a good idea, So,
yeah, yeah, that's been in
um,
development since Trick or Treat was a hit.
yeah, and it wasn't a hit, but
No, it didn't even get a theatrical release, did it?
no, that is one of but for wrong record short, Michael Dougherty's a writer. No, the Trick or Treat was one of those movies that like was it Legendary, I think, distributed it, but like I want to say Warner Brothers had it briefly or something. Tried to just straight up bury. Like they gave it like one like festival screening and people like loved it.
I can
And
remember seeing a preview and then like it never came out, and
yeah,
then it was
and
just on
then
DVD someday.
and
You
then
know what
they
I mean?
just
It was one of
yeah,
those.
and then they just dropped it on DVD and it had like it got word of mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was truly. I mean,
Well, come back to us, Michael Dougherty. We're
I'm a
waiting for
fan.
it. We love you.
I'm
Krampus is somebody had asked if there was any modern Christmas movie that had like entered the lexicon and become a staple the way that like Christmas Story, Christmas Vacation, any of those like had. And I can't. And honestly, I don't think so. Probably the most recent, the last one's maybe Love Actually is like the last Christmas movie that hit that hard.
I'm not a. I know it
I'm not a
does.
fan either, but I know that people really
I don't think
consider it.
it's romantic.
But I think Krampus is that. Like, as far as I'm
For
concerned,
I think for us, it's that,
it's
right?
not mainstream, but it's
Yeah,
like one of the closest that's like
it's
come
like
to cracking that
it's
like.
like Violent Night is. It's same of like.
I think Krampus is better than Violent Night. So
Yeah,
Violent Night
yeah,
was
yeah.
fun, but I think Krampus is a better overall
Um,
movie
so
than
for
Violent.
me, that movie with the Christmas thing is, and it should have been a mainstream hit, and it wasn't. And I watch every year, and it's fun. Is The Night Before. The
Oh yeah,
Seth
yeah, that's a
Rogen.
fun one. Well, and I think we talked about it, but because it came out when we were in our run of Flyover. But I would say Klaus is
Oh,
that.
Klaus is
Is
Klaus
like
is like
that should and hopefully will
didn't
become
it
an
win best?
iconic
Did it win
Christmas
Best
classic.
Picture? It got nominated for Best Picture, I think, or not Best
Best
Picture, Best
animated
Animated. Yeah,
feature, I think.
no, no,
Yeah,
that's one of those ones. Everything we just said it's in a lexicon. Klaus is one of those movies that's like, oh, that's a beautiful film.
right. That's like above and beyond. Like that should
Yeah.
be one of the best. That's probably one of the better animated films of the decade.
So the real hit, the real one is Red One. It's Red One. It's a huge success.
Guys, watch it on Prime right now.
Ugh.
It wasn't good enough to see in the theater, but fuck it, put it on Prime.
Right before we recorded, I saw a thing released. It was like Amazon reveals this is their biggest 50 million biggest streamed movie of an original since. It's like, you're okay, all right. I'm gonna wrap this up because now we're just ranting about Christmas bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we all know Red One sucks, and any platform that gives us the time to talk about that is important. So glad we got that off our chests.
I was watching football yesterday, and they were having J.K. Simmons was like ad tie-in doing his farmers insurance as the Santa. Like it was like watch Red Ones farmers insurance on J.K. Simmons, and I was like, oh, is the movie terrible?
Yeah, I'll tell you what was the worst for that. I know we're off topic now, but around the time Beetlejuice was coming out, oh my god, every ad was, and they were so embarrassingly bad too. Some of the times I saw one that was like a CarMax tie-in that was painful to watch.
No, they were rough.
It's been actually, this has been a year for it too, because the Wicked promotion has been pretty intense.
Well, the Wicked
too.
one's like I think historically big.
Yeah, it's like it's in everything.
Meaning like those I've never seen, and I get it's New York City. We went. I think we went to go see How Does This Get Made back in like November, and we had to get off near Times Square, and the whole like rotunda was overrun with the graphics and posters, and like it wasn't just New York City. Like here's the things. It was every pillar, every post, everywhere, and then I mean their whole national campaign. I think it's
everything. I mean every tie a billion tie-ins. It's been a huge one.
I think it's one of the biggest marketing campaigns of all time.
I would not be surprised because it's been pretty intense.
Yeah, I saw the movie.
It looked okay. It's not really my bag, but
that's why I saw it because I'm like, this is my bag. I should see it.
If I had somebody in my life that wanted to watch it, I would be happy to watch it with them. But I don't think Sarah cares.
Laura wanted to go because Sam wanted to go.
Yeah.
And neither of us are into this. Was like, my thought is that I wasn't into the first like hour and a half of it. I was truly like checked out. The last part of that movie, I was like, I'm in. Let's see what happens.
I'm back, baby.
This is not Wicked talk, but we could talk Wicked.
Would people want to watch two white men talk about Wicked?
We're unlimited. People watch two white men talk about Wicked. It's called
as long as they're talking shit.
It's called Ben Shapiro podcast.
That's right.
All right. Fuck that guy. All right. So that was Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Joe. I was rolling the dice on that one, so I'm glad it turned out well.
I had a skepticism for a minute, and then
I bet.
The first little entry made me go, "Oh no, this is a lane of horror that I get," because it was never boring. If it was boring, it'd be bad.
Yeah, the worst was, like I said, there's a couple little parts with the kids wandering around with their flashlights. Like, if I was going to cut this down from 2 hours to an hour 45, that's where I'd be taking shit out.
Yeah, it needs to be an hour 30, hour 40, but whatever.
And I said, I don't think it's perfect. Ideally, I would have found a way to kind of dovetail the stories, or an idea I just now thought of, when they reveal that the Santa thing wasn't real, go back and show me, like, that the other ones weren't real either, that something's fucked up about all the stories, that there's some kind of twist on all of them. Like, that'd be interesting. I mean, I'm not saying I like the movie the way it is, but I'd check that out too.
Maybe. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Like she doesn't, the girl doesn't really turn into Krampus. She just uses the little Krampus statue to beat her aunt to death with it, you know?
Yeah, or like, the girl actually just murders her friends and leaves them.
It wasn't really a changeling. The creep in the woods just kidnapped her son and she shoots him and gets him back. But I like that it's not that, but it just, there's another thing they could have done if they wanted. Whatever.
And maybe that would have been too much. Who knows?
It's true. Anyway, as is, well worth your time. Check this one out.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. You have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, and as always, stay frightful.
Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.